October 14, 2024.
Lord God, we just thank you for the day that you've given us today, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings you shared with us. Lord, we pray for those that have been affected by the recent storms. We pray for hope and steadfastness for those that have been affected. Lord, we pray for safety and strength and perseverance for those that are involved in the rescue and in the rebuilding. Lord, we just pray for your continued peace on that area of western North Carolina. Lord, we pray for your guidance tonight. We pray that in all the things that we do it in a way that would honor you. We pray in your holy name of Jesus. Amen.
That leads us to public comment. All right, we have two people signed up. We have Mr. Josh Allen. If you will come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Hey, good evening. Josh Allen. I live on Hunter Lane in actually Langdon, not Wilson Jackson. And I just want to take a few moments to introduce myself. I am a principal engineer for an environmental consulting firm called SWCA. I've got about 16 years of experience working on basically anything stormwater related. Doing your traditional civil engineering design, flood conveyance, stormwater PMP design, all the way to your more niche stream restoration, wetland restoration, coastal resiliency type kind of work. Through my job, I've always wanted to try and apply those skills in my local community. We've lived here in Union County since 2017, so going on 8 years now. And I've looked for opportunities as a private citizen of Union County to get involved. I was a part of the Indian Trail Stormwater Committee for about 5 years, and then 2 years ago I served as the chair of the Stormwater Committee for the Union County's 2050 Comprehensive Plan update. And again, so the main reason I'm here tonight is because we submitted a proposal for the Mayflower Trail flood study. It's an opportunity that we saw, we really wanted to serve this community in that effort. It sounds like a decision has already been made, but again, just wanted to take a little bit of time and introduce myself and let you guys get to know me a little bit.
Thank you.
That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Joel Down. Turn around and let everybody see your shirt real quick, too.
What does it say? Warning.
My mom got me this shirt for either Christmas or my birthday. My birthday's the day after Christmas, so it sometimes gets a little bit confusing, but that's okay. Good evening, Mayor, Council, village staff, and fellow residents, and also happy Columbus Day to you all. As you know, I am Joel and live at 408 Conway Court. I first would like to express my thoughts and prayers to those in Florida and Western North Carolina in the wake of their devastating hurricanes individually. I also want to thank the employees of NCDOT, as some of the folks are here this evening, working on getting those roads operational out in Western North Carolina. This evening, I'm here to talk to you guys about the road project at Weddington Road and Wesley Chapel Road, and also Potter, however that happened, I don't know. But I first want to point out the obvious, that the intersection obviously needs a makeover, as we are here talking about that intersection. In addition, it is well known, and it will be restated tonight, that the initial solution of the traffic circle initial solution was a traffic circle in the intersection, as shown on the picture here, and is also in the slideshow. Then this was recently modified to the no left turn intersection, as shown on this picture here, which is also in your agenda packet and slides. And this was, and which obviously has the traffic circles that are between Potter with the no left-hand turn, and so on and so forth. In addition to the traffic circle that will be going at, this is in addition to the traffic circle that will be going at Potter and Wesley Chapel Roads. That is a completely separate project in and of itself. While I see the use of the traffic circle in between Weddington and Potter, this modification brought up what may be called a rumor or conspiracy theory that I've heard, which troubles me. This theory is that Mr. Dennis Moser may have paid off NCDOT to implement the traffic circle in the middle of his property. This may be because Mr. Dennis Moser's property is on the northeast side of the intersection, which he would obviously therefore benefit from possibly in the future. As Most active and informed residents already know this property has already been an issue in the past when Mr. Moser attempted to get the property to be zoned for commercial use. Therefore, I would like to ask Mr. Epperson to address this rumor in your presentation this evening. In addition, I'm also disheartened by just the overall cost of the project, as probably most people are. Finally, whether it be during this presentation or after the meeting, Mr. Epperson, I would like to see if you would also provide any details on why this standard traffic circle was not sufficient for this intersection, and then if a double traffic circle could also be considered in this intersection, and if not, then what issues arise with that solution. And then finally, possibly also address why the Potter and Wesley Chapel traffic circle is not sufficient in meeting the needs that the middle third traffic circle allows to happen. Like, why can't the Potter and Wesley Chapel traffic circle not be used in solution for that? So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel. I think we all have some of those questions. Thank you. All right, so that leads us to additions, deletions, and adoption of agenda. Do you have any? I would like to remove item number 10 because we did not have a meeting.
We do not have what there?
A meeting?
Oh, gotcha, thank you.
That's why Mr. Kennery is not here this evening. And to, does anybody else have anything?
I do. I don't know if, I'm going to ask for action by staff on an item, and I guess I could do it in council comments.
No,
but
does it require a motion?
No, I don't think so. Just information.
Okay.
Mayor, are you intending to delete the entire, or are you planning to keep the planner comments on 10B?
Do you have additional comments that won't be met in item number 12?
No.
Okay, so delete the whole thing. And then I want to add C I want to add 11C to talk about potential grants and the encroachment study. All right, any other changes, additions, deletions?
So back to my point, if it does not require a motion, but only information gathering, we can do that in council comments?
Technically.
Okay. All right. So to recap, we're deleting item 10 altogether. We're adding 11C for grant discussion.
An encroachment study.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve it with those changes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right, that leads us to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? And then that leads us to the DOT presentation.
She says it's 6247. This one advances and that's a red dot.
Mayor and council, thank you for having us tonight. I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about U6247, which initially, we'll start from the beginning. So we were awarded funding for this project in 2020. It was originally for that, like we stated, that dual lane roundabout, the intersection of NC 84 and Potter Road. The local match was initially provided by the NCDOT, and from Union County, we got some money from a developer. The money from NCDOT came from our, what we call spot mobility funds. They're funds that we can use to improve an intersection. So if the intersection is operating at a poor level of service, a lot of delay, a lot of queue, then spot mobility can be potentially eligible if you can fix the intersection and make everything run more efficient. So we have $750,000 from that.
Is one of those Crestwinds?
From the county, you want to remember? Yeah. Yes. So once we got the project funded through CRTPO, the DA money, unfortunately it took some time, a couple of years to work out all the details with the county, to work out all the details with the developer, to get that money from them, and to get that money to us. So we weren't able to start or authorize preliminary engineering, the PE design phase, until February 22. So I want to talk a little about the DA money. I think it's kind of important. So the DA money is funds that the CRTPO gets from the NCDOT. It's funding they have available that they can assign to projects kind of as they see fit. What that means though is because, like we'll show a little more later, is because this project increased in cost, we can't just add more money to it because the CRTPO does. We got to go back to them and request those additional funds. They're federal funds, which require a match, which is why the state had, NCDOT had state spot mobility funds and then funds from the county as that match. Since the initial application, CRTPO has added an inflation factor. That's pretty important. You'll see some more later on that. What I'll also point out, though, in our P7.0 process, where we submit for bigger projects funded through the state, not through CRTPO, this intersection was submitted and actually scored very well, 48.44 out of 70. And CRTPO and in Division 10 put points on that project. Unfortunately, the tier of funding that we're able to been funded from the regional tier is currently negative. This says 471 million as of May 17th. It's actually gone up to about 600 million. So even though this project scored really well in that process, there's no money available for it. So, and this is just the initial concept. I think everybody's seen it, dual lane roundabout. So shortly after we started the PE phase, several large developments came along in the area that were adding a lot of traffic to the intersection.
Not Wesley Chapel ones though, right?
No, I don't remember where they were. Do you remember where they were?
Most of them are in the county.
So they were adding a lot of traffic to the intersection. We were concerned whether that dual lane roundabout would work. Dual lane, well, roundabouts in general work great until they get to a certain point. The problem is once they fail, they just fail. They lock up and nobody can get through them. Traffic signal fails, you still get a green, you still move through. Works okay. It may take you a while, but you're going to get through. But roundabout just locks up. So we re-looked at it and determined that that roundabout, dual lane roundabout, was no longer going to work. Unfortunately, those developments were too far away to really have them make any improvements to the intersection, so we went back to square one. So we looked at, I don't know, do you remember a dozen plus options maybe? And yeah, so we looked at a variety of options on how to fix this intersection. And in the end, this is the one that we felt worked the best. It redirects all the left turn movements from the main intersection up. So let's say you're coming up, and you're wanting to turn left towards the school, you make a right, make a U-turn, come back. The same thing if you're coming from the school and you want to turn left, you go across, make a U-turn, come back. So it redirects all the left turn movements at the main intersection. Throughs and rights are still allowed to the two roundabouts. So go ahead and hit on some of the questions I was asked to talk about. The closer these roundabouts are to the main intersection, the better off you are, because the less distance folks have to travel to make those U-turn movements. On the south side, we actually looked at a roundabout at the school entrance here. And the only reason this would have been more the ideal location, but we also recognize at Chamwood, we had a traffic congestion problem we wanted to address. So we felt moving this roundabout further away solved two birds with one stone. Provide a U-turn movement, yeah, it's a little bit further away than ideal, but it's not horrible. But also address the traffic problems at the Chamwood intersection.
And what is ideal?
About 600 feet, 600 to 800 foot.
Do we know roughly how far that one, like the one at Shamwood is, and how far the other two on the other side are?
I don't recall that. If I didn't know we were going to ask the question.
No.
Madam Mayor, if you will allow, I do know what
Oh,
that distance is.
Okay.
From from Highway 84 to Shamwood. I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. From Highway 84 to Shamwood is 0.2 of a mile. From Shamwood all the way back to Wesley Chapel Potters is 0.4 of a mile. So you could say 0.2 of a mile on either side of 84.
For these two?
No,
Or for these two?
for the one closest to Sun Valley.
Okay.
So on the other side, again, pushing it all the way up to Potter would have been outside that ideal range, but you're right, we already did that once. But we've already got we've already got a roundabout here to solve the congestion at that intersection. So pushing all that U-turn traffic to that location doesn't, you're not solving two problems, because you've already solved that congestion problem. That roundabout would have needed to gotten significantly bigger, and we are already threading the needle between septic fields and a lot of those houses up there. So if we were making it bigger, can't guarantee it, but a good chance we're going to hit one of those septic fields and take out one of those houses, or take out their ability to have plumbing. And so that's a problem. So we settled with a location in the middle, because it's at the ideal location, and again, we didn't need to solve two congestion problems with it.
Can I ask a question? You said initially, if I understood you correctly, that you had a developer helping you, giving you money to work on these. And can you share what developer we're talking about?
Crestwood, right? Or Crestwood.
Crestwood? Okay.
And the developer of Crestwinds is who? Can we ask?
Coulter.
Okay.
Our agreement with the county, so I'm not as familiar with who they got the money from. So yeah, so we've got, was it 400 something thousand, three something from them, and then we have our spot mobility of 750,000. This just shows a close up of the main intersection.
Does it make sense to widen any of those lanes or add more lanes into the intersection?
Based on our analysis, no.
And I assume that those cross pieces are like concrete barriers?
Yes. Yeah, the idea is we've built some of these without some of this stuff, but this one in the middle is helpful, because otherwise you're going to get people making this left. I mean, you can still probably physically make that left, but it would be really challenging. So the concrete island in the middle kind of helps keep people honest. It's just a monolithic island. Fire trucks can mount right over top of it, so if they're wanting to turn left through the intersection, these concrete islands are not going to stop that. So I got some, I didn't include it in the slides and probably should have, but if we do nothing, and we were looking at about 10 years in the future, the intersections operates at a level of service E, it operates bad today. That means, from a delay standpoint, it was over a minute average time to get through the intersection. With this revised concept, the average time to get through the intersection is 15 seconds. Some are going to take longer, some are going to take less, but on average, about 15 seconds.
Does that include both trips through?
So travel time. So doing nothing, travel time to get through this area is 140 seconds in the morning, 165 seconds in the afternoon. Travel time with this concept in the morning is 98 seconds, so about almost 40-second difference. And in the evening, 103 seconds. It's about a 60 seconds difference. And that does take into account the time it would take to travel to each roundabout, come back, go back through the main intersection.
Okay.
Unpeaked, I'll be honest with you, unpeaked times when it's not really busy, it probably will take you several seconds longer to get through this intersection because of how you have to reroute through there. But when the traffic's busy, in the morning, in the afternoon when school lets out, during your P and peak, it will be quicker.
And when those studies were done, it was done while school was in session?
Counts were taken in schools in session, yes.
Yeah. Because I know we did a similar study at a different location, and they did it in the middle of COVID when everything was closed, and I'm like, how could that even remotely be accurate?
Yeah, now, we took new counts this past school year.
Okay.
So this is our initial estimate. It's a little over $3 million.
Mr. I'm sorry, back up 1 second. You said you took those, no, just a
Okay.
question. You said that you took those counts this past school year?
Yes,
Does that mean prior to May and prior to the
Yes.
traffic light being installed at
yes.
Potters and Wesley Chapel? Okay. So there's been no traffic studies done since the light has been installed there?
No, we haven't taken new counts or done any
Okay.
studies or anything now.
Okay.
Okay, so our initial estimate for this project was 3.2 million. Our revised base estimate is 4.5 million. And this is where I mentioned that contingency comes into effect. When you use CRTPO's contingency and inflation factors, we end up at 7.4 million. And I mention that because if we'd applied those same inflation factors and contingencies to our original base estimate, it would have been higher than 3.2. So part of the reason it's costing more is the new design. But part of the reason why it's costing more is because we're accurately trying to predict what it's going to cost to actually build in the future as best we can. I mean, none of us can predict the future, but do the best we can. And back when we applied for the first part, they really weren't taking that into account. So it was never going to cost us 3.2. It was probably going to cost us, there's one thing, I mean, it would probably be 4 or so if I had to do the math, but yeah. So project shortfall was the 4.1 million, local match 30%. We were able to go back to our safety and mobility folks in Raleigh, who are the same folks who gave us that $750,000 in spot mobility money, and they agreed to commit another $400,000 in spot safety money, because there are crashes occurring at the intersections to address that. That leaves us $826,000 short for the match for that additional amount. The county's looking at, or North's looking at the county for half of that, and so then we're seeing if y'all be willing to commit that other half.
Also worth noting that the amounts from our spot safety and spot mobility is the maximum amount we're allowed to get.
That's, yeah, thank you,
throughout
yeah.
the state.
Yeah, spot mobility is capped at 750, they won't fund more than that, spot safety is capped at 400,000, so they're giving us the max in each one of those funding sources that we can get.
Mr. Everson, I should know this. I apologize. You may not either. But do you know what the cost, the total final cost is for U6087?
Is that our roundabout?
Yeah.
We're in the process of getting a new estimate right now, actually.
Do you have a general idea of what it is?
If I had off the hip, I mean, I would say it's somewhere in the 2.5 million range. What's
Okay,
the cost
so could-
overall in the end,
Okay.
but
So
waiting to get that estimate back in before we have something final.
is it safe to assume then that a roundabout's going to cost us somewhere between $2 and $3 million?
That one,
Was that everything construction, right away utilities, or was that just construction?
Because we're on the hook for 50% of that overage.
Unless we go after more money from CRT.
And I guess there's a reason that I'm asking that question, and that is I think everybody, well, let me back up. I'm not going to make that assumption. My issue is the additional roundabout between 84 and Potters and Wesley Chapel. I don't understand. I can't grasp why we need 2 roundabouts within a 0.2 of a mile segment.
Again, it's because the idea is the folks who are using, like the folks that are coming on 84 to turn left towards the school, to keep the distance they need to travel to the right and make a U-turn as short as possible.
Is then,
If,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say, if we were to use this roundabout, it would obviously get significantly larger to accommodate the additional lanes. So there's, either way, you're either building a new roundabout or rebuilding the roundabout. And the concern with rebuilding that roundabout is, one, will work from a traffic standpoint, because it's already a very busy intersection, and now you're adding all those redirected movements to it. But like I said, we're threading the needle through some of those septic fields. So if we make that roundabout larger, it almost guarantees we're going to hit those septic fields and have those impacts to those homes. So they might have repair area on their property, and they may be fine, but it does create that challenge. But like I said, now you're taking a lot of redirected movements and putting them at a very busy intersection versus a Chamblewood, other than when the school kind of lets out, it's not as, even at its peak time, it's nowhere near as busy as the other intersections. So we can more safely or more adequately accommodate those redirected movements going through there.
Well, then that would lead me to question, is there a minimum distance that you want between roundabouts for those to be effective? What is the closest that you have roundabouts?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on the queue. So if we got roundabouts on our interstate ramps that are 700 to 800 foot apart, 1,000 foot apart, but it really just comes down to the queue. So if the traffic analysis shows that the queue from the roundabout, as the volumes increase, there's going to be some queue at the roundabout, people who are waiting to enter it. If that queue is 800 feet, then obviously you don't want that roundabout 600 foot away. But if that queue is only 200 feet, then a roundabout 600 foot away functions okay. So there's not a clear-cut answer on that one, I guess, anything in the 200 to 300 foot range, I would say is probably not gonna work. But 600 to 800 foot, if the roundabout is designed adequately, should function okay.
And still no commitment to a timeline.
First, we gotta find out if we're gonna get the money. So here, because we already have some funding, normally we would have to wait. So the CRTPO would award the money, and we would know definitively in January, February that we're gonna get it. But there's still a months-long process. It might be summer, early fall before we actually have authorization to start spending that money. But we already have money, and we already can get authorization. So if CRTPO is gonna award us the money in February, honestly, we'll know what they're gonna be recommended to their board before then. We could go ahead and start working on the project. We could go ahead and start the design work and moving forward. You're looking at, from a design, purchasing right away, moving utilities, and starting construction, 3 to 4 years. That's pretty standard for any project that size.
And just to say it out loud, the estimated time of completion for our other one, you're still planning to break ground in the summer?
That is still a plan,
It's not Potter and Potter.
Can we refer to this one as the Eford roundabout? Just so that there's not any issues, any confusion. But yeah, let's stay on Eford's property.
Yeah, that's the plan, is build it in the summer, shut the intersection down, have it open back up before school starts.
My neighborhood is right past the school, and during peak hours, you can't go left. You have to go right and then come down and make a U-turn or somehow. If you put those concrete things in there, we're going to have to come down this way, go down that way, go around the roundabout, and it's just, I don't know.
You want to add another roundabout?
No, it's those cross things there at the intersection, blocking the way so you can't do but certain things. They're doing that already.
But again, it improves the intersection operations enough.
Yes, sir.
That during peak times, it will still take you less time to make the U-turn and come back. Because the intersection, right now it's an 8-phase signal. So you've got your green on 84, your green on Potter, and all your left turns. So all those folks are competing with that green time. And there's only so much green time you can get in any 1 minute. How that works. This is a 2-phase signal. It's either 84 traffic moving or Potter traffic moving.
Mm-hmm.
So in that same 1 minute, if you're dividing it evenly, you can get, I don't know if you can do it evenly, but you can give 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So that through movement is getting a lot more green. Where before, if you're giving 15 to the through, 15 to the left, 15 to through, 15 to the left, you're only getting 15 seconds of traffic.
So you can't make left turns anywhere, no left turns anymore.
It's throughs and rights.
Gee whiz.
So like coming, because I live off of Potter, so I'm gonna go through the roundabout, through another roundabout, have to go through that intersection, which I'm assuming is gonna be a light, correct? Go down to Chamwood, if I'm gonna go down to Monroe, and then come back to go, so I have to go through 3 roundabouts and a set of lights. Okay.
From a safety standpoint, we know that roundabouts are a lot safer because they slow people down. What about this?
It's safer than a traditional intersection because you don't have people making those stops. You can still have somebody running a red light. If you're coming on 84 and somebody runs the red light on Potter, you can still get hit there. But you won't have the folks turning left in front of you for those type of T-cone crashes. So it reduces the conflict points, therefore reduces the crashes that occur at the intersection.
I learned something when the stoplight went up at Potter West of Chapel, that it's hung for a week or hung for a certain number of days, flashes for a certain number of days, and then it's operational.
Yeah.
How does something like that work here?
A lot of signage, honestly. We've implemented a lot of different RCIs, reduced conflict intersections, and it's just a lot of signage. There'll be construction activities going on during all of it. We wouldn't take out any of the left turn movements until the roundabouts are built. We would do a press release letting everybody know about it. We'll let y'all know that. Y'all can put the word out too. We have a message board letting people know new traffic pattern intersection signs, that say no left, all that, and have it, what route to take to get back to where you're going. They're still gonna be growing pains when it first is implemented, you're gonna get people not used to it.
What penalty, if any, is there to the developer, to the contractor if they don't finish on time?
We put liquidated damages on all the contracts.
Has there been any contact? Can you go back to, has there been contact with the developers or the owners of those two parcels about egress and ingress?
Would any development that is, would any development be able to be tied in?
Potentially,
Yes?
yeah, potentially, yeah. They would have to show us through their traffic impact analysis that they could do that without degrading the operations of that roundabout. Which may mean they have to add lanes to it, depends on how much traffic they're adding to it. Our analysis shows that roundabout's operating very well, so we could probably take a fourth or third leg with minimal volume and be okay. Again, it just depends on how intense that development is. You know, they building single-family homes on 1 acre lots, so they're building, townhomes or something.
And that surrounding property is unincorporated Union County?
No, that's us.
That is most.
Okay. That's what I want to clarify.
And the county's gonna put, has agreed, or Bjorn, you have confidence that they would put up the 413,000, half of what's left?
Mayor, all I can say is we have a multi-year critical intersection program that has money set aside, so I can say that there is money to do this if the board chooses to do it. I think if Wesley Chapel committed tonight, that's a very good proposal to put before them, but it's, in 7 days, I'll know the answer. I mean, we're certainly recommending it if the village goes along with it.
As technically, let me say this nicely, as technically the county created the problem to go from the dual lane roundabout to this, how much money is in the critical intersection fund?
I would disagree with your first statement, but we didn't put any money into this intersection by virtue of the conditional rezoning that was approved 4 or 5 years ago. Part of the condition was to put money towards this intersection project. So we don't have any of the critical intersection money assigned to this yet, but it is eligible, so that's why it's on the board agenda for next Monday night.
Well, I don't think it was Crestwinds that caused it to trip. It was Weddington Point
Yeah,
and
Crestwin's hardly any right now.
it was Weddington Point and the other one down there that caused the pin to be put in it.
There's development up and down the corridor from Monroe all the way to Weddington.
Well, you can't ask Monroe to put in too.
Yeah, it's outside their limits, I can't imagine they would.
How much money is in the critical intersection bucket?
Per year, the county puts in $300,000, so it's cumulative.
Okay.
As you've learned, just because you assign it 1 year, it doesn't get spent that same year. It could take several years for it to be spent. So the money coming in and the money going out is in flux. But this project doesn't get complete till 28 or 29. The county will have approximately $1.1 million between now and then that's currently uncommitted. I hope to get it committed to other projects, but this is just one of many throughout the county where it's possible.
And Crestwinds was how much?
$386,000?
That they contributed?
Yes.
And that's the only one that has had to contribute.
Yes.
Well, building on your question, Madam Mayor, if we go back to page 5, Mr. Jefferson, on the project history, the several large-scale developments that have been approved and have caused the increases on the traffic volumes, which developments are those and what municipalities are they in?
Unless y'all remember which ones they are out there. I remember there being 3, I remember just looking at 3 different TIAs. That's not recall which ones they were.
Well, I mean, the largest one that's been built in the immediate vicinity to the east that's in the county is Weddington Point.
I can find out, I didn't.
The one that raised the issue did not get approved, and that was Dixon Farm. That was just east of Airport Road, which, if approved, would have contributed several $100,000 towards this intersection. But
Several hundred cars.
But it was age-restricted development, so it would have been.
I don't believe that, but that's a different argument.
That was the condition.
Different
But
argument.
it wasn't approved, and that's fine. But that was the TIA that identified this issue and raised the
We looked
issue.
at it, but there were several other developments that did get approved that we specifically looked at, so.
We'd love to know that if
I can
you
find out.
you can find out. Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Epperson? I mean, I gotta say personally, I don't love that other roundabout like David, but I feel like we're obligated to help our residents, right? Like that's a bad intersection. There's a lot of parents and children going through that intersection, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but if this is our choice. I don't think we have a choice, but to do what we can do to fix the intersection as best we can. But I don't even get to vote, so.
So pretty much this is it. I mean, we don't really have a say-so in what it looks like. It's just they decide what it looks like and then we give them the money to build it, or a little bit of money.
We help contribute the funds to make it eligible for the funding it needs. We have to agree to the match before it can be eligible to get the other funds.
And like I said, we looked at a lot of different options. I didn't include a lot of details on that. I've got some right here, but they're not visuals. We looked at a lot of different options. We looked at U-turn bulbs, like 74th through Indian Trail is an RCI intersection with U-turn bulbs. Problem with U-turn bulbs on a two-lane road is they're massive compared to it. And there's west of the intersection, there's not a good place for them because you got a lot of developments over there. So we looked at maybe some U-turn bulbs and roundabouts all around 84 itself. It's just not good places for them. And then there's so much more traffic on 84, the roundabouts would have had to be bigger to accommodate the through movements on 84 and the left turn and the U-turn movement that were being redirected to them. That was the upside of Potter. As busy as Potter is, it's not 84 busy. So the roundabouts were able to function better. And again, it also addressed that issue at Chamwood because there's congestion and issues there as well.
Well, no disrespect, because I know you guys, know what you're doing, obviously, but this just looks like a hot mess to me. I mean, it does, it's just.
I will say we are building. We call this a bow tie design, and we're currently building one in Cornelius right now. Not to compare y'all to Cornelius, I'm just saying we have this same type of design being built on US 21 in Cornelius. They've been built elsewhere across the states. I don't know those off the top of my head, but I have seen them. I can get that information to you if you want.
Well, one thing I'd like to address is one of the things Amanda just talked about is we have a responsibility to the residents of Wesley Chapel to try to improve roads, and I get that. Everybody wants to see the roads improved, but we also have a responsibility to the residents of Wesley Chapel to be fiscally responsible with their tax dollars. It's a tough pill to swallow.
I understand. So if I had a funding source that I could identify to cover all the match,
What's that for?
that would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
I just don't. We tried because we're also fixing the issues at Chamwood. We also said, we asked if because right now the spot safety money is for the intersection of 84 and Potter. We asked if we can get the spot safety money for Chamwood. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough crashes there for them to justify spending another $400,000. But if I could have, that would have been awesome because still would have been short, right? But it would have been $400,000 short. If we didn't have a cap of $750,000 on spot mobility or the cap of $400,000 on the spot safety, maybe we could have got more. But we didn't.
And I know this was asked and answered earlier, and I apologize, but the timeline, if we were to say yes tonight to the $430,000, what would the timeline be before?
But it'd still be dependent on CRTPO submitting, or awarding us the additional DA money. But from that point in time, you're looking at 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years. And this was approved in 2020 at a cost of 3.1 million, and now 4 years later, we're 132% over that. What assurances do we have as a council that 4 years from now, we're not going to be asked to pony up another 132% increase?
Because CRTPO, it builds inflation factors into that, so we tell them how much we think it's gonna cost. So our revised base estimate is $4.576 million. Once you throw in their contingencies and their inflations, we're at the 7.4 million. So does that guarantee it's not gonna go up more than that inflation factor? No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
But when we're on the hook for a percentage of the overage,
But, so, for this project, we're not asking you to be a percentage of the overage, we're asking for half of that 826, and that's it.
So that's 413,000.
that we don't just have laying around.
Correct, yeah, I'm just,
It's in the bank account.
that's a different question, but like I said, we're not asking, that would be your amount, and that would be, obviously, if we get a few years down the line and we see inflation that's 2 or 3 times what CRTPO is estimating, we're still gonna be short. And I'm not saying we're not gonna ask for more, but the agreement will not be worded to be responsible for any overruns for this project.
So did we not have the same parameters for U6087?
No, it won't be the same.
Okay.
And my hope is that with the CRTPO contingencies and inflation, that we're covered, or at least really close. And if we're $100,000 over, under, whatever it may be, we can probably manage that from the DOT standpoint. Even a few $100,000. If we're $1 million, it's a different conversation, right? But I'm hoping those inflation factors cover us to where we're really close. I mean, again, if I can predict the future, I know exactly what it is for inflation.
All right, council, so they are asking for approval of the funds tonight. Or it's up to,
And why is it that we can't wait till after we hear from the CRTPO organization on their,
because we have to agree to the match. Somebody has to agree to be the 30% match, and it would be the county, the additional spot safety funds, and us.
If
CRTPO
they
is
don't
not,
award the money, then
we don't pay.
we
But
won't
if we
enter into
don't-
an agreement until,
But if we don't agree to be part of the match, they can't even go to be considered, right?
or we're taking a chance. I mean, the CRTPO doesn't, if we go to CRTPO and they award the money and y'all choose not to pay it later, then I gotta go turn the money back into CRTPO. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but it doesn't look good enough next time we go after money.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not do that.
Mr. Everson, could you go back to the slide that has the roundabout, all 3 roundabouts on it? Okay. So, again, there's a game on my phone that always wants me to play, how cars turn to get out of the way of other cars. I haven't played that yet. But what purpose is this roundabout serving?
So, folks that are coming down 84 want to turn left to the school, or traffic coming from the school want to turn left, would go up Potter, make a U-turn at the roundabout, and come back to this intersection. So it is there specifically for that U-turn movement.
Okay, so it would be for people going west, wanting to turn and go towards Mineral Springs, which is not a huge amount, but I guess the bigger amount would be those coming out of Shamwood, wanting to turn and go west on 84.
Yeah, it would go straight across, make a U-turn, come back, and turn right.
And if we made any changes to Eford's roundabout, that's going to delay that. Well, it would delay everything.
Correct. If we didn't want to build the one we were going to build next summer and just build one big enough to handle everything, yeah, it would delay everything. I I wouldn't recommend that. I'd say if that's what we were gonna do, we would be rebuilding that roundabout,
For the third time.
several years, several years after we built it the first time. I guess 3 or 4 years after we built it, or 2 or 3.
Was being re-engineered twice for,
They
yeah.
haven't rebuilt yet.
But I'm sorry, re-engineered for the third time.
Design.
Did NCDOT consider a signalized U-turn there at that roundabout instead of a roundabout?
It would work, I mean, honestly, it would work. But, like I said, typically, your U-turn, U-turn bowl big enough for a tractor trailer on a 4-lane divided facility is 50 foot off the edge of pavement. Well, we don't have the 2 lanes, we don't have the medians, so you're looking at something that's gonna be sitting probably 64 to 70 foot off the edge of pavement. It just from a size standpoint, it look odd too, don't get me wrong, but from a functional standpoint, yeah. it would-
Right, similar like on 74.
Yes, it would
Right.
function fine, yeah.
I know. I'm gonna go around and pop hands. Sherry, I'll let you ask one more.
Okay, I'm sorry. Again, because when I'm traveling down Potter to get to Wesley Chapel South or Wesley Chapel, so, and the traffic is backed up during high time from the intersection all the way to Potter Road. So I guess what my concern is that if we're taking the roundabout from Potter, right, and then we're heading toward the school, during busy times, that becomes completely packed. So that second roundabout, which is in front of Moser's property, will be deadlocked, as well as it's going to go back to the Potter Road roundabout and lock that up. You won't be able to get to Sun Valley. You follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's just going to lock it up so that, unless I'm misunderstanding something with the light there. But
Unless
that
it can
light
get
is
through,
red.
unless it can get cars through fast enough that it can,
And it does, and so this is where our analysis shows all those cues at, and, I can welcome to see this. But none of them, no cue from this.
Little red star on
Yeah, it's not. But none of the cues from the main intersection there, at 84 and Potter extend up to any of the roundabouts. They go, in this case, if you're going towards the north, it makes it maybe a third of the way.
how about if you're going south, if you're coming towards the elementary school?
Right. I'm just saying that, like, that traffic is gonna back up so much, it's gonna fill the Moser roundabout right above north.
But our analysis doesn't show that. Our analysis shows it does not keep up through those roundabouts.
It doesn't even back up to that roundabout
No,
With a light there?
correct.
at 5 p.m.
Because it's a two-phase signal, and so right now, and the only traffic signal is either Potter or 84 going. So you have you always have lost time with yellow and red. So when you're going in an 8-phase signal, you've got all that yellow and red that nobody can go. In this case, we're able to, you just that green time, it's either 84 is going or Potter's going. So yeah, I mean, our analysis shows to the south, it actually goes up a little bit further. But again, it doesn't make it to that roundabout. The queue's on 84. I mean, that's maybe 300-400 feet, maybe.
It'll back up to Chandler though, to get out of I live
Either
on
But
Chandler.
But he's saying that they don't back up to the roundabout on either
Yes.
side.
on either side, yeah. Again, if we were to leave the intersection as it is today, an 8-phase signal, yes, it would, because nothing would have changed. But when we redirect those left turn movements, we're changing it from an 8-phase signal to a 2-phase signal. The only thing that gets rid of either 84 is moving or Potter moving. So you process more traffic in a shorter amount of time, and so the queues don't go as long. That's why, I mean, today, it's operating at a level of service E, or in our analysis in 10 years still an E. Our analysis for that intersection, as you're seeing up there, it's a level of service B. So that tells me that if our analysis 10 years from now says level of service B, you probably got 5, 10 more years before you can get back to the D. At some point in time, 84 is going to have to be 4-lane divided. But it might be 20 years from now, 25 years from now. But it is, unless growth stops, right? It's probably going to happen. But the good thing about this design is it still works. You could widen 84 to 4-lane divided and still use those roundabouts for those redirected left turn movements.
And your plan would, just to restate it, would move this intersection from the current D, E,
E to a B.
And you'll know in 7 days?
Next Monday night.
Poll and council?
I can't do anything.
Okay. Well, I can give you my thoughts. My thoughts are, council, I live from the leftmost roundabout. I live a quarter of a mile down the hill. In the mornings when I leave and the evenings when I come back, most times I'm coming in 485 to 74. Ideally, I'd go through Stallings and come in at Stan Evers roundabout and cut across. I drive on 74 all the way to Rocky River Road, go over to 84, come back up 84, get off on Willoughby, and completely keep my sanity, and I stay away from these intersections. There's been many days that, Sherry, to your point, I've stopped on 84 beyond your community all the way down to the bridge, and I don't know how far that is, probably close to a mile, with traffic being backed up on Potter's all the way to Stan Eford's property and then back across 84. Let me preface this by saying I'm not a traffic engineer and I'm not a smart man, but I see no way in the world that second roundabout is going to be anything but a cluster to get any more traffic through there. I just don't, I don't see it. All that being said, you're asking for $430,000 to fix traffic in Wesley Chapel. That's probably a good deal, but I don't see this working.
David, I agree with you 100%. It's a lot of money for something that they're saying is going to fix the problem, that might fix the problem. And
They didn't say might. They said it would fix the problem.
it's just a really tough pill to swallow. I want things to be better for residents of Wesley Chapel. I want things to be better for anybody during rush hour traffic. Non-peak times, it's not as big of an issue, but
So if we don't agree to a match, then this might not go to CRTPO and people might not get any assistance. And there is money in the bank that people would rather spend on road improvements, because we've been talking about road improvements for years, than they would on another playground at the park.
no.
So,
I agree, but we all felt like the stoplight, and again, I'm going back to Stan Everts, the first roundabout proposed, well, the one that's
In red.
this one. We keep talking about the stoplight and how that was going to improve traffic flow. It's done nothing but made it a mess. I mean, it's
Now, we knew
It's
the
terrible.
stoplight wasn't the ultimate solution, we just felt it was better than nothing. And we've
I think
had-
nothing was better. I'm sorry, Mr. Everson.
We've had folks out there monitoring it and then making adjustments. To my knowledge, they're still working on that. But it's not going to be perfect. The roundabout should fix the problem. And maybe the signal wasn't a good idea, but we felt it was. But we knew it was never going to solve the problem.
a signal was a good idea in the fact that I've seen people almost die there, and hopefully the signal slows people down, that nobody's going to die between now and the roundabout being installed. So I mean, I think it was a nice try to keep people safe.
But I know last time I talked to Zach Gardner, our division traffic engineer, they had looked at the signal, made some adjustments, and we're seeing that it queue up from 84 to the signal. So they were going to look at some adjustments to hopefully clear out the traffic on Potter so it doesn't back up to that signal, which would help it operate better. The downside of that is if you give Potter more green time, 84 gets more red time. But the intersection's bad, so 84 may need to share on that a little bit while everything was talking about. And I figured out why it wasn't working. I guess when I was moving around, I turned it off.
All right, well, council, we're already like 30 minutes over into our next presentation. We've already passed its time. So, any further questions for Mr. Everson? Any conversation? Any?
I don't think we have a choice, do we?
I feel like we don't have a choice. I feel like we have to do something. Maybe just like with the double roundabout or the dual lane roundabout, maybe between now and then, some amazing invention will happen that moves cars quickly. But I don't think we have a choice. People have asked for traffic improvements since I've lived here.
Yeah, but if you add something that makes things worse,
Well, the people we trust is saying it's not going to. They're saying it's going to improve it. And honestly, it's so bad, it's an E. I'm not real sure how it could get worse.
There's enough.
There is enough? Well, I don't want to try to achieve that.
It's not as bad as it could be, but yeah.
I mean, worst comes to worst, it doesn't work. We go back to the drawing table.
I mean, ignore this design aside. Reduce conflict intersections where you cut down an intersection from 8 phases to 2 and redirect those left side, whether it's a U-turn bowl, roundabout, there's even more options than that, are proven to improve traffic flow. Because you're cutting down the number of phases, you're cutting down the amount of yellow and red time. The less yellow and red time you have, the less time you have people slowing down and they're stopped. So they do work. I mean, I can show you if you want. I can show you lots of locations across the divisions where we put them in and they've improved traffic flow.
So
We chose the dual roundabout one here just because it worked best for site conditions. But
And you-
whether
And this bow tie design has been proven to work in other parts of our division
yes.
and improve traffic flow and timing. Mike has volunteered to go out and direct traffic. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, the good and the bad, council, is that, the bad is, again, it's 132% increase. I mean, the cost of this is more than doubled in 4 years' time. My concern is, let me back it. But it's more than doubled. That's the bad. The good is that, instead of, I think it was 1.2 million, the original difference, we're only asking for 430. So
413.
I thought it was 430.
427.5 something.
Okay.
I thought you said 826.
Yeah, it's 826 is what I've got.
So that's 413.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some rounding in it that way, but that, I mean, or within a few dollars.
So still better than what it could be, but
Is your concern what it's going to be like in 4 years when it actually gets done?
but again, according to Mr. Epperson, we're not going to be faced with quite as much of a blow because they have contingency and inflation already factored in.
If the numbers are being used or what we actually see in the next 3 to 4 years, then we're going to be good. Again, I can't predict that. But we didn't have any inflation factors and stuff on the original one. So I know we went from 3 point to 7 point, but if we'd had inflation factors on the 3, it would have already been over 4. So yes, it would have still been a sizable increase, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't have been as big of a jump.
And we're not signing that we'll pay 50% of any overage either, which is nice. Because that is scary.
Yeah, we've already been down that road.
And for me, that may make the difference as to whether I vote for it or against it. Knowing that it is a set amount. I still feel like the design is not going to work, but again, I'm not an expert. I just drive it every day.
I just had flashback to when we dealt with this 4 or 5 years ago. And your comment was, I wouldn't write a blank check in my personal life and hand it to someone. Kind of hard to do that with taxpayers' funds too.
But this isn't a blank check. This is
No,
$413,000.
Let me finish. That was for the other roundabout, which is also ballooned in cost. This doesn't have that same caveat, but I never be given the choice to put a gun to my head and say, sign this or else.
Well, we just approved a roundabout for residents on Cuthbertson. So we're going to tell residents on this end that they don't
I just
deserve
I
a
just-
traffic improvement?
you misunderstood my point.
All right.
I'm leaning toward voting for it.
Yes, please.
I'm leaning toward, but I just don't like not
Yeah, so we,
not to give it much of a
it'd be so
choice here.
weird to
No,
come
it's
back.
So, Lee brought up a good point.
Okay.
We wouldn't need the money until we go to construction. Just- I don't know, I mean, you're still committing to it now, but
Yeah.
you know, you wouldn't need it till 3 or 4 years from now.
So you have time to prepare.
All right, I make a motion that the town commit $427,000 dedicated to this project.
I don't think it's 427, right?
I'm trusting my presentation, and then say it's 413, half of that each was.
That saves a little bit.
Say again?
I'm
The
trusting the
dollar
numbers of my
amounts
presentation,
So I don't go by what's on the,
that we're 826,000 short, and if y'all are going for half, and the county's going for half,
413.
it'd be 413.
okay, so,
Approve C, B, and C here at an amount to be adjusted to 413,000.
okay,
The resolution
Sure.
and the budget amendment at an amount of 413, one and the other.
okay. So I make a motion that we approve the resolution and the budget amendment for $413,000 to meet our commitment for project U6247.
And I say so.
Is there a second?
I'm going to reluctantly second it and hope it doesn't turn around and bite us in the backside. Because as David and I both fear, it will.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I think you did the right thing, David. I wish I could have voted with you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Epperson. We appreciate your time this evening. And y'all's two gentlemen. Bjorn, will you let us know? Because if the county says no, I guess we're off the hook.
You will know as soon as they make a decision.
Because I don't think I can twist arms to go up to 826,000.
No. And I hope the residents realize what a
And I apologize if I incorrectly threw the county under the bus, but if those 3 intersections are all county, I would like to know.
Well, I'd like the residents of Wesley Chapel.
Those three
Rest of
subdivisions are all, I'm sorry, if all 3 subdivisions are county, I'd like to know.
Done?
Sorry, yes.
You interrupted me twice. I just want the residents of Wesley Chapel to realize what a tough decision that is to spend that kind of money for something that may or may not, according to the experts, fix the problem. But I understand that we have to do something, to Amanda's point. But at the same time, I'm leaning more towards David's thought process on this. So, thank you, David, for standing up and
All right, so that brings us to our Union County School Bond referendum presentation. Thank you for your patience with us tonight. You can see we have lots of important business.
So, yes, I understand.
You got turned off, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, so what do I do?
Up and down arrow?
Up and down?
Yes.
So this is up? Okay. Thanks. Okay. Hi, I'm Kathy Heinzel. I'm on the Union County Public Schools Board of Education. I'm the chair. And we're talking about our bond today, which is on the ballots on Thursday, early voting. It starts early voting. And Michelle?
I'm Michelle Morris, I'm the General Counsel for the Board of Education. Thank you for having us tonight.
Okay, thank you for having us. Thank you. Okay, this is some history. When we renovate or new schools and stuff like that. Let me go through this quickly. 16. The bond that we have on the ballot now, 2024, we have 2 projects. We have $27.6 million for East Union Middle School. Right now, East Union Middle School is not on the same campus as Forest Hills High School. So the idea is to renovate the old high school and have both the high school and the middle school on the same campus, which would be nice for athletics and all these other things that you do at the schools and things like that. Like Weddington schools have it all on the same campus. A lot of them do. The other project for the bond is Parkwood High. Back in 2019, the county had a committee of UCPS and SBCC to see what we need in the next 10 years. And then one thing that came up was the old high schools, Parkwood, Piedmont, Monroe, and Forest Hills. And Forest Hills is being built right now. So Parkwood's next. So the money for on the bond is for pre-construction projects is about $11 million. And then next time we'll talk about the older schools have small classes, and we need bigger classes for specialty classes and stuff, like Cuthbertson and Weddington and stuff like that. Parkwood doesn't have a lot of land, so we would have to go up 3 stories probably, yes, The new Forest Hills High School will be bigger because of Waxaw and all the stuff that's coming our way. So it will be 3 stories and probably 1,800 for students. That's East Union Middle. So that's the old high school that I was talking about. And so they're going to renovate for the middle schools. And we're going to do the same thing at Parkwood. Because it's like $180 million to do a middle school now. And so, yeah, it's a lot of money. So we want to, save our money to renovate the other schools. So. What? Backwards? There it is. It's just pictures of what it looked like. And the design for the new school for Parkwood High School. Pictures. Proposed projects include, these are the ones that we talked about in the with the committee, with the county. We can only use the bond issues for construction and renovation of facilities, or buying land or purchase of capital items. We can't use the money for teachers or staff's salaries, unfortunately. That would be nice, right? Yeah. What is bond? Everyone's doing bond. It's a loan. But it's the most cost effective for something that big.
So you know what the average cost is, could it be to the median household income?
The increase in the tax rate?
Oh, yes, I can tell you that. It's $8 per 100. So if you have, what?
100,000, yeah?
Yeah, so if it's a $500,000 house, it's $40 per year.
On the long-term capital planning page, I see construction at Benton Heights, Sun Valley, construction at Parkwood Middle, but it doesn't really say what kind of construction. Is that just general addition, adding more space, or?
Well, and some of it is to address the fact that the facilities are so old and aging, so it's going to be expansions, some may be complete renovations. It just depends on the facility.
Yes.
You know, like at Ben Heights, we've already done the new auditorium, and that wouldn't be a new building, but it'll be renovations to the, and upgrades to the current structure.
And you're moving to South Providence?
The goal is to move South Providence. It's not, the facility's not big enough, it's an aging facility, it's not parking, all of those things. And it would be nice for it to be more centrally located, because we're busing kids from all over the county out to Waxahachie, you know.
Where are you thinking of putting it?
You know, it'd be nice to have it downtown Monroe, but I just don't know. We have to look at what locations, you know, could we do, like Walter Pickett had, and renovate that to serve that purpose. We're just gonna have to see, but it really does need to move out of the current location.
But the bond that's being recommended for the November the 5th vote is only for East Union Middle and Parkwood High, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All the others are, I guess, on the,
They'll be
on
on
the
future
wish
bonds.
list.
On future bonds.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
looking at every 2 years.
Yes. That's what we talked about in committee.
Okay, so for the November.
2 years ago, we did Forest Hills and East Elementary. And it was to be done in a year.
Okay. So the November 5th vote would add, you said about $40 per household per year?
It's $8 per 100,000.
Okay,
So if you're half a million house, it's $40,
okay.
if my math is right.
You had mentioned, you look back at the demographics from 2 years ago. One of the questions that I got regarding this, because I didn't have any information, was we had looked at Union County in general. We had experts come in and talk with us about our kids not being able to afford to live here. Our kids, when they graduate from high school or college, they can't afford to stay in Union County. They're having to find housing elsewhere. They live either outside the county or outside the state.
A lot of teachers can live here, too.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But with that, it's kind of pushing the bubble further and further out to the point where if they can't stay in the county, where's the next generation going to live? And they were asking if this is a wise investment, if 5 or 10 years from now, there'll be enough kids in Union County to require all this. And I said, well, I didn't have the information, so I was going to wait till tonight's meeting and then I'll see if you guys have a good answer for us.
Well, you know, our demographic study doesn't show that it shows that we need these facilities to be updated. And, you know, luckily on this end of the county, we have these nice, beautiful facilities, and we just don't have those.
And we have CTE problems, or programs, and we need more, it has to be bigger, the classrooms have to be classroom because of the things that they put in there, so.
Yeah.
And we can't do that in the older schools. Like, Sun Valley got 4 new classrooms back in '60, and those are big rooms, so they could do CTT. Before that, they couldn't really do a lot. Like, yeah, so.
Yeah, and both, and you know, we have the Ag Tech program out at East Union, which will then be able to be expanded and provide more opportunities, and even opportunities for kids to come there from other parts of the county to engage in that program if they want to. And then Parkwood has construction trades or
Yes, yep.
and automotive
They have welding,
welding. Yeah.
yes, yep. That's
Isn't
from
the-
our committee.
Isn't it the McKibben's report that gives you guys the future? Is it still saying that it's going to be mutual gain in the county, even though we've got all these new 600 house developments popping up everywhere? Is it still saying that there's going to be not going to grow a lot?
It's been steady.
It's been steady, yeah.
Enrollment has been steady, yes.
It's been said that it's not.
I don't think we have a growth. I don't foresee a growth.
We don't.
We don't see that from the McKibben report
But
now.
steady,
Okay.
Yeah.
Depends on the schools. Look, but you guys are #1 in UCPS and 2nd in the state. That's awesome. Really good. Okay.
Hands down.
That one's very tough. Okay, if it doesn't pass, I hope we hope it passes, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but there are the needs, so we're gonna have to find
Yes.
another way to fund these needs. And obviously bonds are the most fiscally responsible way to meet this
We have
need.
53 schools that we have to take care of every year, and we have, $16 million to do that, which is great that the county gives us that money, but it's a lot. It's hard. Yeah. When will the projects be done? Right away, hopefully, yes, yes. Yes.
It's usually about a half a year.
Everybody asks about what we're going to do with East Union Middle, the building on 74. We don't know.
You know, this is a big question, probably out,
Yeah.
especially for your residents, is that these aren't projects which impact my child, so why should I be concerned about them? And it's just, we need to have the quality throughout the entire county, the equity requirement, is necessary. And then, as we move these projects up, then other projects come further up on that list that we showed you. So eventually, all of our parts of the county will be touched and improved, and
Let's hope.
Well, I had a quick story. I had, the last time that this school issue came up, it wasn't about a bond, it was specifically about redistricting. And I was talking to one of my neighbors, who's older, doesn't have kids, and she said, well, it doesn't really affect me, so I don't care one way or the other. Until I pointed out that depending on which school district their house sits in, it's going to affect their property value.
Exactly, yes.
And then she took
Yes,
notice.
it can.
And I've gotten a lot of people ask me about this, and I've purposely not given an opinion one way or the other because I hadn't had this presentation yet. And I've been approached by people who are seniors, who don't have kids, people who have elementary school age kids, and people who are just starting out that don't have kids yet
But it
and want
helps
to
the
know.
value of your home.
That's what the point I was trying to make, is that it does add to the value, the reason people want to live here. We have good schools, low taxes, and a lot of house for the money. We don't want to change either one of any of those three.
Right.
But at the same time, you've always got to make sure that you can afford to pay for what you build.
absolutely.
Yes.
So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, the bonds have never failed.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, public, I
Not in our county. It is
I can't see it changing.
Don't put it out there. It's
Always pass. And
Yeah.
there it is, okay, the state changed it, so you have to put all this on there, on the ballot, so you can see that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the way the economy is now, education is key. So I'm glad you're here educating the people, us and the people that
Yes,
are here
thanks for
watching.
having us. Yes,
Um,
yes. Yes. Today, they're doing a
Facebook Live as well, so.
yeah, so you
People
can
go
see
watch
that too. Yes. Yes.
Well, someone asked me specifically how they get more information about this. I invited them to tonight's meeting. I don't see them here, so I'll have to give them an update after the fact.
Okay.
But I think it's hard for just John Q. taxpayer to, if they're hurting right now, to turn around and spend more money. And I always point out that it adds to the value of the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. The schools are a big factor, as you said, that draw people to our county, and so,
Yes. It is.
our county ranks up there on almost every.
And there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
And I think it has something to do with at least one of you two, if not both of you.
Yes, you too. Well, thank you for having us. Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you, ladies.
We
We
have
appreciate
the
your
polls if you want anything.
Do
We
we
have
have,
handouts for the polls, so, yeah.
do we have anything on our website that specifically addresses the bond issue?
We do not know.
Is there anything that you could send us a link where we could put
Yes,
that on there?
Yep, and there's the link on the bottom of the presentation to our bond page, and so absolutely.
Because I think more than anything else, it's educating the voter.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
we can
Yes.
just put a link on our
We will.
webpage
We'll send it
page
to you.
to,
Yes,
Yeah, that's it, just get out and vote.
yes.
absolutely.
Thanks for.
Thank you
having
for
us.
having
Thanks,
us.
ladies.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, that brings us to the finance officer report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, yeah.
Thank you.
So Kathy, what do you have for us this evening?
What?
Oh, other Kathy. Not that Kathy.
Multitasking. Okay, on the monthly financial report, it's pretty typical right now. We have more expenses than we have income. The tax bills are just going out, so we should start to get some pretty big tax checks here in the next, 6 weeks or so. Any questions on the financials at this time? Anything? I have more, but I just wanted to have any questions on the packet we sent out. The audit, we are in the process of doing our audit. I have already submitted all of the data that's been requested of me to our auditor. So as you know, that's due the end of October, but we have a grace period, so I never really worry about that, but we should be finished on time. Black Mountain Software, I'm continuing to work with NCLM, just kind of combing over our records, make sure everything's good. He's doing the mapping to a standardized general ledger system that will be across North Carolina for typically smaller municipalities, but it would be good to be standardized. Make it a lot more, make it a lot easier to have our audits completed. And the last thing I have is we have a good bit of idle cash sitting in our savings account. I'm obligated to put that money where it's safe, liquid, and gives us the best bang for our buck, basically. So I have been looking at the North Carolina Capital Management Trust has, in the past, they had two funds for us to invest in. One was short-term and one was long-term. But they have so many municipalities investing in them now that they only have one fund. The money is liquid. The return is right now like 5.3, 5.4, but may come down a little. That rate trails the Fed funds rate. So it's going to be higher than what we get in the bank. So I'm looking at taking the idle cash that we have, putting it at the North Carolina Capital Management Trust. Right now, if I go ahead and move that money over, it operates pretty much like our savings account. If I need it, I can bring it right back into the bank. But we can pick up another $25,000, $30,000 in interest just this fiscal year, and it's mapping out to be between 40 and 45 for a full fiscal year. So maybe not our fiscal year, June to July, but I'm talking 12 months. So I wanted to see if anybody had any questions or concerns. This is something that I'm permitted to do. It is within the North Carolina statutes. It's within our investment policy and our village investment list. The securities that we will be investing in are T-bills, which are less than 12 months. The T-bills have, T-bills you buy them at a discount, and then they come up, and that's what gives you your return. So the T-bill, when you talk about diversification and you're investing in T-bills, the diversification comes with buying different terms so that they're always kind of rolling. So your money's available. There's no risk in this, which is really a funny thing to say when you're talking about investments, but this is backed by the U.S. government because they're T-bills, and they're also backed by agencies, Freddie Mac, which is the federal home loan mortgage, if you don't know what that is. So I'm very confident in this. I've also spoke to the North Carolina Capital Management Trust people. I spoke to the North Carolina League of Municipalities. The North Carolina Capital Management Trust is certified by the LGC, which, as you know, is a very powerful entity within government. They are the reason that our bond rating is so high because there are 9 members of that team, and they physically monitor all of us. And they guarantee it, not guarantee it, they've certified it. In other words, they like it, and they're okay with it.
So Kathy, what is our total reserves in current?
We have about, 2 million. We have 250 that is in grants. So we have about 1.5 million. Some of it's already invested. So we'd be moving over about maybe $1 million to $1 million more.
Let me re-ask that question. Other than what's already allocated and reserved for other projects, you said we had extra?
We have 1.5 million right now. And then the money we just spent here will be 400,000. So it comes down to, I think, somewhere between 700,000 and 800,000. But the money we committed today, we won't be spending for a while. So
I understand that. And what percentage of that were you planning on putting into this T-bill investment?
Oh, all of our idle cash will go over there. The only thing that I'm going to keep is our checking account, which is I'll watch for the low base each month when I write checks, and then I'll keep probably an amount in there to make sure I have a good cushion.
And this is just done as part of the finance officer's responsibilities without going through council?
Absolutely.
And also, how much for $4,500 possibly in interest?
45,000 for the year.
I'm sorry, 45,000.
Yeah, it's 25, 30, depending on the base of the checking account, but it can end up another 5,000. That's provided that the rates don't drop. But if the rates do drop, the banks will always be lower because, we're following the Fed funds rate with the T-bills.
I asked Kathy to bring it to council and get everyone's feelings about it before money was moved.
I appreciate that.
And I would always bring it to for clarity, but I did talk to Amanda first. To go over it with her and answer all her questions.
And how will we be updated on this as far as the part of the monthly statements?
It'll look the same. Your balance sheet will just have that account going to one account of capital management trust. It just won't show the money market savings for Truist. It'll have the checking for Truist, possibly the grant funds, but I'm looking at moving them over because the income for the grant funds is, I'm getting $2 a month right now, and I could be getting 1,100 or 13,000 for the year as opposed to maybe $25 for the year. So I'm going to move it over as well, just to maximize what we can spend.
Making the money work for you.
It's all it is. It's just making the money work for you.
And no charge for transactions. We could withdraw at any time and
Correct.
no additional cost.
Correct.
No penalty for withdrawing early. Like if we have to write a check for a $1 million jam in a couple months.
Yeah, my concern is both the long-term and the short-term access to cash.
We have immediate access to our cash.
That's all I want to clarify.
It's a very large pool of money. They used to divide it out when it wasn't, but
No,
they
$1
don't.
million doesn't go as far as it used to.
Yeah.
But every little bit helps.
Any further questions for Kathy?
I appreciate her keeping us up to speed as far as where the money's being kept and how it's being.
All right.
Thank you.
So Kathy, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Mr. Lepke, would you approach the podium, please, sir? And give us a wonderful update.
So, nothing to report on Events and Planning Committee as the meeting was cancelled due to the storm's arrival. Lots to report on the dam breach. Happy to say it couldn't have gone better. Thank you, Council, for picking such an outstanding contractor. It really could not have gone better. I think they went above and beyond the call of duty. They made some improvements to the service road, so they didn't drag any mud onto Lester Davis. Lester Davis remained spotless. They were extremely cooperative throughout. They were making suggestions as we ran into issues. I was in communication with Amy Black and all the dam safety people from state. They were in total agreement with what the contractor was selecting. By Thursday lunch before the storm came, it was done. They pulled resources off an alternate other jobs to get the job finished before the rain started. And then, surprisingly, they even came back. There was so much rain that the 18-inch riprap they put in the bottom of the breach moved. They came back the day after the storm, replaced all the riprap, and I complained that, hey, dude, the seed you put down was going to be washed away. They reseeded it all again for us, and no extra cost. So I was extremely happy with the performance of the contractor and the way the whole job went so quickly.
What was their name again, just for the record?
TTG, Terra Group of the
Terra
Carolinas.
Group of the Carolinas. So they do intend bidding on the reconstruction when we ever get there. I don't know if you've all seen, DEQ has signed off on the breach. However, they did emphasise that they're signing off on a temporary repair and they still expect us to do the full job
And they expect the pond to be kept as low as possible.
as low as possible. And to that point, there is enough water left in the pond to keep the fish and turtles alive. Run the fountain and run the irrigation pump. So to keep the water at minimum, I had to call back the irrigation contractor because we took the irrigation system out of service. It drained, the pump had to be reprimed. I did a test run that it's not sucking air, the pump's not going to run dry. And we needed to do that because we just got reseeded, the annual overseed in the park, and that needs irrigation. So, all good on that front. The two other things I need to just briefly mention, you can ask me any questions if you like. Emily, Vaughan, and myself met with the DOT about the 84 strip that we're going to lose. One thing I emphasised to the DOT guy is that I believe they have grossly underestimated the compensation we should get for the things we're losing. In their previous offer, in addition to the compensation for the land, there was compensation for the fence, the trail, and other things. They had previously offered somewhere in around 19,000, might have been 19.2, 19.6. I did some estimates just on materials, time, etc. And it's more like 43 grand we're going to lose, or we're going to incur as an expense to replace that fence, replace that trail in a different location. So we have communicated to them. Kathy's going to coordinate the feedback to them. And also from the drawings, the crosswalk they had originally talked about was absent in the latest set of drawings. So we've provided a copy of the drawings they'd previously given us as a reminder that, hey, you guys talked about giving us a crosswalk from South Brook to... So,
John, would you also talk, I'm aware of it, but I'm not sure some of the newer council members are aware of the issue with the Part F grant and if we get money from the DOT?
yes. So, there is money given back for the land that we lose because the contract with Parks and Recreation Trust Fund said, we said as a village, that would be parkland in perpetuity. Now we're giving it to DOT, it's no longer parkland, so we have options to either take that money and buy a piece of land of equivalent or greater value with that money that we then deed as parkland in perpetuity, or we have to give them all that money back. You know, my argument is, well, hold on, you only funded 25% of the park, so you should only get 25% of the money. But that's not the way it works. Any money we get back, PARDEF gets it all. One new development is that in the past, the neighbouring landowner had indicated no interest at all in selling us a strip of land along the side of the park to compensate for the piece we lose along 84. It's now become apparent that that landowner is in fact seeking to sell that property, and there may be some opportunity for us to avoid giving those funds back to PARDEF and buying a little strip of land to compensate for what we lose along 84.
So we don't have to give anything back to Part F?
Maybe.
Maybe. So Vaughan's suggestion was that's probably best handled by a lawyer or a real estate agent or somebody on behalf of the village to have that kind of negotiation with the potential buyer of that property and the seller of that property.
One of the things, you said you talked to the DOT representative?
Yes.
When they take that property, they're going to be relocating slightly the Lester Davis intersection?
Yes.
Did you guys talk at all about a land swap?
Yes. we did talk about them, what do they call it, condemning. They're going to change the angle of Lester Davis, and it leaves a piece of what is currently Lester Davis Road open, which is where we had long intended to install a monument sign on the corner, welcome to Wesley Chapel and Dogwood Park. We held off ever doing that because of the uncertainty of what was going to happen the day before. They have said, yeah, well, it's no use to anybody except the park, so they would be open to the idea of at some point deeding that little triangle to the village for the park.
Yeah, I still get a lot of people that don't know where Dogwood Park is because we don't have any kind of signage, even a temporary sign, on Weddington Road, letting people know that there's a park there.
One other thing that disturbed me a little bit is in the previous drawings, the boundary of the utility right-of-way kind of came up to the dog park fence. They've now added some cutting for reasons I don't understand that would actually go right into the dog park. So
That's new.
that's not good. I mean, it's surmountable. We have to make the dog park smaller. We have to move the fence in.
Because previously there was the right-of-way, and there's construction right-of-way that's just temporary, and they said they could work around part of that.
Well, now they've got to cut out the DOT guy did not know what it was for. He was going to ask. It was possibly stormwater drainage, but the drawing didn't indicate any storm drains go in that direction.
It could potentially put twice the amount of water into the pond as currently is going over.
So one of the actions on me was to reach out to Amy Black and ask her if in the new dam plans,
Yep.
with an M, not an N, had she considered all that additional flow coming off, what was it, 1.5 acres, 2 acres, non-pervious surface, dumping more water. Amy had not considered that additional water flow. So she appreciated the heads up, and she will look at
Okay. Thank you.
what impact that additional flow is going to have on the future design of the building. The other thing I did since last time I was with you guys is I had to sit down with Vaughan and talked about the Parks and Rec survey. Had some input from Amanda. I gave Vaughan my thoughts, but I asked him to hold off because I've asked the Events and Planning Committee to come prepared with what they'd like to learn from the survey, and I'll get that input from Vaughan so that it can be part of the survey.
John, you might want to point out that the reason for the survey is so we potentially go for
Parks.
grants.
Vaughan understands the number one objective is so we get maximum points for any grant applications.
I asked for a question about funding of additional law enforcement and spending priorities to be added.
So I'll communicate that to Vaughan. He will ask people to prioritise what spending priorities should be. And I also said, we need to inform people, not just ask them, would you like a bathroom at the park, but would you be willing to spend $800,000 on a bathroom at the park? So to make clear what they're being asked. So he's going to incorporate all of that. But he's on hold right now till I get the feedback this Thursday.
I will say that we have received a easement agreement change, right, from Aston recently. So I don't know that, I mean, pending on the outcome of that, George is currently going to review it before we bring it to council in November. The crisscross of easements and the potential Piedmont natural gas relocation, which we should get the plans for later this week or next week.
But you're talking about here at the town hall, not at the park.
Right, but if this piece of land, I know John wanted to put a question about this piece of land, but it may be that this piece of land is basically unusable. So we should know in the next 2 months, really, what that looks like. Just to let council know that in November, we'll be bringing that to you.
Then the other
I think
$100,000.
even if there is easement, subsurface easement use, that a flat field across the top is still okay.
Right,
So like
right.
an open playing field is still okay, but it's about the only thing you'd be able to
Right.
do with it.
So we still have movie night.
And you could still have a gazebo and some picnic tables, but you couldn't have.
The other thing we discussed along the idea of buying a strip, 78 feet wide to compensate for the 78 feet we're losing, I think. Bourne thought we could possibly accommodate their additional parking. It's very flat. We could probably pop in another 100 parking spaces
Event parking.
for event parking or second parking lot for the park, and then we might eliminate the burning need for any kind of crosswalk from Southbrook because we'd have adequate parking on our own side of the road.
Well, with the current design and no crosswalk, and people speeding up and down a 4-lane road, even with flashing car lights from 20 deputies, I don't know that it would be safe
Yeah.
at any time of the day. With a crosswalk, it still might not be that safe. So additional parking to alleviate that would be fantastic. Yeah.
But there's a long way from here.
Right. But we can dream, right?
But that's the dream, is that the seller, that we get enough, the land has to be reappraised, and then I think that is the starting point when we know how much money we have available from the reappraisal of that strip. Then we know how much we can approach the property owner with, or how much extra the village might have to ante up.
But would your preference be like a 3-foot wide strip the entire length of the park, or would you rather have a big enough area for a parking lot, but only a short distance?
I'd like an area along the side of the park, running from 84 to the sewer easement, that is wide enough to accommodate a decent sized parking, 80 cars, 100 cars. And then,
That makes more sense, I think.
yeah, but they're at the south end of that strip, so most of it's an open field, clear-cut agricultural land. To the south of it, it's very hilly, there's a creek, it's undevelopable. So Vaughan's thought was, well, if he were the seller, he'd probably be saying, yeah, I'll sell you this, but you also got to buy this wooded, hilly bit, which would make a lovely extension to the park, and take that piece off their hands that they would never be able to do anything with anyway. It's a long way, but a lot possible.
And John, the other question I had on my list is, what is the expected deadline, or maybe Amanda would know, on the grant application for the dam repairs?
Okay, so I think last we heard, and you're going to talk about this later anyway, I think last we heard was November, December decision time.
But they've already dangled that carrot so many times and pushed the deadline back, what, 3 times already?
And I think now it's January, isn't it?
The latest deadline is November 15th, that's the last I've heard,
Okay.
but we are going to bid the project in November and be ready for maybe hopefully a February application, unless you've heard something from Amy.
I think it might be different now, but I'll look for
She's
you.
pretty good about,
My guess is, given what happened in Western North Carolina and elsewhere in the country, FEMA's going to say, sorry, we ain't got any money to fix your dam.
But the state's gonna require we fix it anyway, and we have to come up with the money.
Yep. I mean, it was pretty clear in their sign off of the breach that
It was temporary.
it's temporary and the expectation is we're going to fix the dam.
Well, hopefully it's a case of, there's a bucket of money for this, and there's a bucket of money for that, and they've always kept the red tape has always kept those buckets separate. But,
On a positive note, when I floated what the engineers had estimated the cost to be to the contractor that did the breach, he said it's not going to cost that much.
well, then we can talk about possibly doing a dredge.
We won't know until
Yeah.
we bid it.
and the good news is once we did it, we only moved 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5.
The scope of work has to change significantly because you're going from the current spec started with a no breach situation. The current spec is going to have to change to be a post-breach section, which is a lot less excavation and haul away, because they already hauled all that stuff away. So there'll be less of that. And there's the consideration of all that additional water flow that's going to come eventually from 84 White.
Can you also talk about the bid options, option A, option B?
So one thing that has now become obvious, when we drained all the water out of the pond is so silted up after 50 years. I mean, there are places where that silt has to be 4 or 5 foot deep. And when we fill the pond back up, it might look nice and pretty, but in a lot of areas, because of all the silt, the water's only 6 inches deep. So what I'm asking Amy Black to do is say, okay, here's the principal quote is for rebuilding of the dam to the new specification. And option A is, while you're at it, there's no better time to demuck the pond than when you're doing the dam. So how much additional would it be to demuck the pond? The reason we need to separate them is because rebuilding the dam will be eligible for FEMA funding, demucking the pond won't. So we'll pull that as a separate item, and then council consider available funds, whether we got grant or not, how much grant we got, and the benefit of demucking the pond in addition to rebuilding it. Is that what you wanted, Mike?
Yes, please. Thank you.
FEMA has pushed the deadline for all grant documents to be submitted by mid-November. We will not get a funding award until December or possibly January.
So this is the
We are
third,
hoping to have our contractors ready to go in February because we bid it out in November.
but this is the third time they pushed the deadline back,
Yeah.
just this year.
Or third or fourth time, yes.
Third or fourth. It's frustrating.
But I still think it's wise to hold until we hear.
Well, yeah, but the difference is usually when you get a bid, it's good for 30 days, 90 days, something like that. It's not going to be available if they kick the can down 6 months down the road. We're going to have to go through the whole process again.
Well, Amy and I have talked about that, and look, we have a solution to that. Basically, we're not going to do the contract until we're ready to bid the job, until we're ready to actually do the job.
Okay.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. It was so nice to know that our dam was fixed when it started raining that Thursday.
The
But
day before, half
and the
day
news was
before.
like, Lake Lures Dam is failing. I was like, but why is this not? So much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kathy.
There was
Thank
a
you, everybody
void
who
in the
worked
dam
with
the
that.
size of a Volkswagen, right, John?
Right.
Or so the void in the dam was the size of a Volkswagen,
Oh,
right? It's huge.
Thank you.
I don't think it would have held up to that storm.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to code enforcement. I don't think we have any activity, do we, Kathy? We are just,
We didn't send any new letters, but we did follow up on 4. And we've had exceptional response. All 4 people have called me. We talked about it. They were all appreciative, and they are picking up their stuff with no issue.
awesome.
Speaking of code enforcement, picking up, what's the status of our sign sweeps?
Sign sweeps are going well. I mean, he picks up maybe an average of 21 signs every 2 weeks. We don't call him. We tried all of that in the very beginning. We hunted him down. We called the Secretary of State. We looked for telephone numbers, which is very difficult to enforce, junk removal and a telephone number. You don't really have anything much to go by. And the people we did get a hold of ignored us and put the signs back out. So the most effective is just pull them out of the ground and, they lose their $5 investment per sign.
It's tough around the elections because election politicians like us, we put in an exception in so that we can put as many signs out as we want, but we can't let businesses put out signs.
Well, yeah, but that's just protected by North Carolina statutes, so we can't do anything with that.
All right, thank you, Kathy. That brings us to the park dam. I think we just talked about that. We're gonna rebid it out and try to have it lined up with a funding announcement and the county stormwater study. Emily, you wanna speak to that?
We had, myself, the planner from Indian Trail, and 3 members from the planning department for Union County, had interviews with 2 engineering firms. We gave our input into it, and now it's
Did they give like an estimated, like, maybe start date on it?
Oh, no. This was just, qualifications.
Okay, so we're still
So,
months
we-
away.
Yes. There's no money, there was just they were just making a presentation about the qualifications.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so that leads us to the encroachment study. LaBella is here, and Danny wanted to speak a little bit about the process we've talked about moving forward with.
Sure, okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. Mayor, council, I'm Danny Watson, project manager and engineer for Bell Associates. We'd like to thank y'all for the opportunity to provide a flood study analysis, come up with some solutions. And we have Tammy McGee, our planning grants manager here, Christine Fink, our project coordinator here, who's a local in West Chapel.
Yeah.
So, we just want to take a few minutes to thank y'all for allowing us the opportunity to do this flood study, come up with some solutions here. So we got it broken down into 2 or 3 task orders. Task 1 is the project initiation of available data collection. So that's capture whatever data we can that's available, so reduce the cost analysis through West Chapel. And that will also include collecting models, HEC-RAS models, LiDAR data, whatever we can get our hands on, especially survey information around the house that's built in the non-encroachment area. And also coordinating with Union County through a bigger watershed study, because that plays into this as well as looking for grant opportunities. That's a big part of the task order 1. And so that we can have as much information, so we're not throwing a big high-level number out there, get information we know we need. And then once we get information, if we don't have cross-sections enough data, we'll task order 2, we'll get cross-sections, evaluate it further, and coordinate with the state and you guys as well as the county in the process.
Question. You were talking about specifically grants, and I know you have a grant expert here. We were talking about grants specifically coming from the state or dam repair. What, if anything, have you heard as far as availability or buckets of money being moved around? Is there going to be anything left after this hurricane relief?
We anticipate that money is going to be reallocated. Have they made an official announcement? No. But just due to damages and state funding sources, there probably will be some money allocated. We also anticipate new grant opportunities coming down with less red tape to try to get to municipalities. So we're honestly just waiting to hear that feedback.
Thank you.
Right, and then once we do that, we identify grant opportunities and try to streamline that into task 1, so we identify some funding opportunities at the same time reflecting the data and identifying the issues through the data collection.
So to sum up the problem right from like my second grade brain, a house was built in the encroachment area. Now we have to do a study that figures out how much it impacts stormwater downstream. And if it affects it more than 1 foot, we have to remediate that.
Yes.
Could be potentially buying his house, could be potentially, I don't know. There are lots of options out there.
Yeah, so the first step is determine, and probably won't have a no-rise, but ideally you go in and it's called a no-rise study, and everybody's on the same page, and you just issue that and move on. There's no changes to the maps. But we probably know that's not going to happen. You're going to have a rise. So ideally, you want to stay below 1 foot. It's not going to be conditional. And then coordinate that with the state and say we're going to follow a Clomar condition, whatever map division. And then we'll evaluate the other houses around that area in the Mayflower Trail that's flooded as well, and see And then in the Union County flood study, also, there's 2 ponds that's in the Union Trail area that's contributing down here. So part of that study, the bigger watershed area is to evaluate those ponds and see how, if FEMA modeled those watersheds correctly. And so part of that is studying those wellings that are downstream of the pond that ends up eventually into the FEMA floodplain, as well as this one. So that's all kind of part of that study. So we would be coordinating with them to see what they would be able to contribute as well.
And we have to do this or we cannot maintain our flood insurance for our residents.
Yes, correct.
Let me ask a more general question, not specifically to this property or this situation. With all the things that have happened with the hurricane and the floods, do you see any changes coming out of the state or for the state in the rules and regulations of flood zones?
Probably not in the immediate future. There is some resiliency studies. I mean, we in the West, we had a 1,000-year storm and about the biggest part of the mountain region. So I think in the future, but it would probably be, it could be 5-10 years in the future.
It's amazing what a big storm will do to policy sometimes as far as, it's terrible when you have a tragedy like that, but the biggest concern is not dealing with it, it's how to prevent it from happening in the future, whether it's through code restrictions or rules changes.
Correct, yeah. Everything's based on what's called a 100-year storm. You're probably aware of that, and that's how they define the FEMA floodplain area.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, we look forward to working with y'all.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Is there anything specific you need from us in the interim?
Not at this time. I'll be communicating with Amanda when we write the first task order to get going immediately.
Please keep us informed of any changes on grants or what the state is leaning toward as far as how it will affect our projects.
Sure, will do.
Thank you all. All right, so that brings us to the infrastructure and development updates. I'm going to let Emily speak to the commercial center development updates. Other than we do now have, very recently have the easement modification. There are a couple things that are above my understanding level, but I think this new easement will allow them to build the driveway, the road, and maintain it, and we won't have to be a part of it, which is nice. And then to give us access even into our land, which I think we did not previously have. So stay tuned for more information.
I stopped by Chase Bank today. They are opening tomorrow. They had some fiber optic issues that they had to resolve. So that was what their delay was. I introduced myself to the manager there, very nice gentleman. Was happy to answer any questions and told me I'm very interested in finding out about when it was opening, and that was the answer. And like I said, he provided why they were ready to open. Taco Bell broke ground last week, and they're hoping to be able to be open late January or early February. Got information about Piedmont Natural Gas pipeline relocation. I think as I stated earlier, hoping to get plans sometime this week, and then the broker is hoping to meet with Labella and Ball about that. Village Commons, we just have a couple of clarification, little issues to deal with from engineering. I'm waiting to hear back from the forester about landscaping, and then we will be issuing permits for the grocery store and the 2-tenant retail store building and the medical office building.
Quick question on the Taco Bell. Somebody asked me and I didn't have an answer. Is there going to be any new entrance or exit from that property for the Taco Bell, or will they be using the existing shopping center entrance? Thank you.
But there is a roundabout on the Piedmont Natural Gas line relocation that goes between Target and Harris Teeter that will go in when 84 is widened. So hopefully that will alleviate some of that, even though it is 3 to 4 years down the road.
I just didn't know if there's gonna be any new
Yeah,
entrances, right turn in, right turn only, right turn out.
I would be terrified.
That's why I wanted clarification on that, and I didn't have an answer for the person who asked me.
Yeah. But tell them hopefully a roundabout will help everybody get out of there a
Easier.
lot easier.
Well, because when that railroad extension happens, there'll be no left turn out of Harris Teeter on Weddington. They'll have to exit from the side, then go to the intersection, turn left.
And then, improvement at 84 and Potter, I think we've talked that one to death. Temporary lane and roundabout at Newtown and Cuthbertson, I heard Jim updating you, said you wanna,
Is Jim still, I'd rather get the information directly from Jim, if you don't mind.
Jim, you wanna
coming
come
up and giving us, so it's not secondhand information.
sure, come on up, Jim.
And Jim, first and foremost, thank you for following up on
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Because I know it's,
I spoke with Crystal Long, she's the Charlotte area president for Gateway Homes, and then 2 of her staff. So we had a conference call a couple weeks ago. So they've, the way they explained it to me, they got their plans approved, but they decided that, and I can't remember which side of the road, but the side of the road where the homes are was originally going to be where they would encroach into there and have to remove trees and stuff like that. And they decided that the better solution is to move further to the other side. So they've submitted a new plan to NCDOT, which he said might, and then of course this was before all the storm hit, they said it would take 6 to 8 weeks to get approved. It sounded like then they were, once they got it approved, they were ready to proceed with construction, even though it would be during the winter and they would have to do it at night, but they sounded like they were willing to do that, so.
That's awesome.
the last information I got from the county was that originally they wanted to do it in the summertime when the school was out. Now they're being told that they have to do it at night, and they don't have the option of doing it during the summer. And evening construction is 3 times more expensive than daytime construction.
But it sounded like they were willing to do that, so.
But yeah, they didn't have a choice. They
And the
weren't
sooner
given
the
the option.
better,
Right.
Yeah,
right, before costs go up more.
right.
So that's what they told me, and they promised to keep us in town.
And I think
That's
that the biggest fire that lit this action was the fact that they realized that they were not going to be able to sell the houses in Phase 3 that they're currently building until this was addressed.
Thank you for being the squeaky mouse, right? Squeaky wheel, whatever. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. And thank you too, Mike. General updates, audio visual equipment. Joel and John and I met and had a discussion, and now we just need to meet with a few contractors, right? Or few sound people. Go ahead.
There's a wrench thrown into the works because what we didn't talk about was the planning board needs when
Right,
we met.
right.
I think the easiest solution, and I don't know how acceptable this is to council, would be if we go the route we discussed and the laptops are left up there, we don't have a problem. But if the laptops are going to be removed and not available for use for the planning board up there, then we got to figure out a solution to that.
So John and I talked about asking about like the potential for a screen that stays in place that could be specific to each user, so you can zoom in or zoom out or whatever you want to do, but it stays put. So no matter if council here, planning board's here, whoever, WUMA's sitting here, they could do their own stuff.
But I asked some of the IT guys, and they said, well, a touch screen monitor is going to be as expensive as a laptop. So
Well, we've saved money by not having them working for years, so.
Why would we need a touch screen?
so that each of you can adjust your display as desired. There was a request from Laurie that she wanted to be able to zoom in on things, and so to make it user customizable display option.
And John, was the laptops the only thing you guys talked about, or did you ever consider just doing tablets?
Well, Apples were considered, however, if you're going to use Microsoft Teams and Microsoft products, they tend to run much better on a Windows operating system than an Apple system. That's what the IT guys told me.
And we'll know more details when we talk to the IT, the people we talk to. Who are those people we have to talk to?
What we did, we took a step back, we said, Amanda, Joel, and myself sat and we said, okay, what are the requirements? What do we want to be able to do? And that's what we've defined, is what we want the system to be able to do. And then we'll go back to the people who've been in the past with, here's what we're trying to achieve. Because before, it was apples, bananas, and pineapples, instead of red apples, green apples, and yellow apples. So we're trying to get it to an apples situation where they're all responding to exactly the same definition of needs.
So we need to get our next meet and greet scheduled. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Sign Suites update is there. I guess we could move that to code enforcement, but prayer, Kathy, if you notice another area, or if you're driving around the neighborhoods and you notice an area where signs are popping up, just let Kathy know. We can send them out. That's it. That's it. Council, mayor comments. Who wants to go first?
Oh, you want-
Ladies first.
Okay. You still want me to go? All right. First off, I am just really proud of the work you're doing. I just have to say that. I mean, John, you kick butt out there. You really do. And I just have to say that. We're still using Parks and Recreation on the website, and like in the minutes, the council minutes, for example, item 8 was Parks and Recreation Department. Really, I think we probably could have just said Dogwood Park update instead of Parks and Rec. The agenda.
Here,
Yeah, item 8. You see it says Parks and Recreation Department?
I swear I took that off, and there was another change I made, so I don't know what I did, but I
Okay.
do apologize. It is.
That's okay. And on the website, there's several places that are just the titles and stuff.
I'll look for it because I went in and I created a page for the events and program, but you're saying there's Parks and Rec throughout it, isn't
Yeah,
there?
there's titles that say Parks and Rec Department, Parks and Rec page, stuff. Yeah, there's several.
Yeah,
I'll be happy to, when I see them, send you
Yeah, when you
links.
see them, let me see,
Okay.
because I did go online and created a page for that and sent it to everyone, but, I'm kind of dipping it in and out, so if you see something, please send it to me and I'll fix it.
All right. That's it for me.
Go for it.
And Amy, since you are, Kathy, since you want to talk about some changes, I'd still like to see our council members' emails listed on our webpage and not just a link where where a resident can leave an email, but actually list our email addresses on our website, which it does not, in case they want to cut and paste and send it from their own personal,
Right here, they can email you right here, you mean,
but it doesn't.
I don't know that this template allows me to do that, I called
Yeah, but if you
them.
click on email, it doesn't list our email address. It just gives them a place to do
Exactly.
something.
I will go in and manually do that.
That'd be
I
nice,
did
just-
call because I wondered what it was doing, because when I go to send it, it says clerk, and I said, I don't want everything to come to me, and she said, that's the outgoing, so you're
Yeah.
right, it doesn't have that, but I will do that.
They do come to you. You just copy and paste it back into the.
It just doesn't actually say your name, Mike
Well-
Cohen, but it does go to you.
But if we can list, under where it says mayor and council, I don't know, it was the other page you had up.
It's on the bottom down here.
Yeah, if it just,
I'll look and see, this is a template, I'm not sure if I can get it in here.
well, even if it said below our names what our actual email addresses were, it would
Like I
be
said, this
nice.
is coded, I'll have to look to see if I can do that, I'm not sure.
That's small detail. Just see what you can do on that. The other thing I have on the comments is, wanted to make sure I was talking to Amanda, that the rest of the council knew that Weddington Town Hall has been damaged. Did you know that, Deb, with the tree?
The trees, yeah.
I'm not sure if the structure is, if they can go in the structure or if it's been condemned, but I think we should reach out to them and see if they want to potentially use our town hall temporarily, since we're good, close neighbors.
They had their meeting tonight, it was being live streamed on YouTube.
From where?
From their town hall.
So they were actually in their town hall?
Yeah.
Because I went by there today and I didn't realize how bad it was, but I was literally 10 feet from where the tree was, and I was like, wow, that's a lot worse than I expected. The other thing I had on here was to remind everybody that we got invitations from Waxhaw's Newtown campus for November 1st at 10 o'clock. Hopefully we can get somebody to represent Wesley Chapel with that. And we got a couple of emails from Senator Johnson, specifically updating us about the hurricane and hurricane relief. I would like to see better communications, if at all possible, with Senator Johnson than just getting, the occasional email.
He is supposed to be coming to Wima soon again to talk.
I would love to see him show up, and when he started, there was a great town hall that he did with all the different municipalities. I would encourage him, if he shows up at the Wima meeting, to consider doing one of those again.
I can certainly ask.
Great. That's it. That's all I have. How about you, Dave?
First off, echo on what Deb said. John, thanks for all the hard work on the dam. I was at a charitable event Thursday night and witnessed how quickly and how hard the rain was falling. We were outside, but in a tent, and I thought many times about the lack of sleep I would have had that night, knowing that the dam at the park was in the condition that it was in. The one thing that I made mention of when we were talking about approving the agenda, I've had several residents ask about USPS mailbox drop somewhere. I know that we've gone over this. I know we've looked into it. I know we've faced the stone wall that has been built by the Postal Service. But I would like to next month at least get maybe an update on that to see if there's anything at all that we can be squeaky about in order to at least provide an answer to the residents when they ask. On the school bond issue, I'm assuming that if we put that on the website, it's going to be for information only, right? I mean, we as a council did not vote to support it.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
going to
only
be,
problem with putting it on the website, is to go look like we're supporting it.
yeah,
We're pushing it, so.
yeah. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's listed as information only.
Yeah.
And then, Deb, close your ears. I had my bow, because it is deer season. I had my bow, so I had an arrow in the back of my truck, and I was looking for an apple, but I couldn't find an apple. But thank goodness I didn't, because I realized that the quote was by William Penn and not William Tell. Yes. So I would have made a fool of myself if I came in with an apple and a bow and an arrow. But William Penn, for my monthly quote, said, "Let the people think they govern, and they will be governed." I sat through a very animated Carpo meeting last month, and one of the topics was the Waxhaw Parkway. A lot of great conversation between the town of Waxhaw, and then opposing thoughts from the town of Mineral Springs and Union County. There were many residents that spoke out about the placement of the proposed Waxhaw bypass. And again, a lot of good information. I was sitting back, I was like watching a tennis match, I was like back and forth. And it was awesome. And after everything was said and done, representative from the city of Charlotte said, "You guys put me in a very difficult spot." And for a minute I sat back and I was like, what's going on? What's he talking about? And then I realized this month, when we vote on the Waxhaw Parkway, it's going to be based on majority vote. the representative from the city of Charlotte is the only deciding vote from Carpo because he carries the majority of voting power for Carpo. So I think William Penn was right in saying, let the people think they govern and they'll be governed. I think Carpo, in my opinion, based upon last month's meeting, is let the people feel like they have a say in transportation issues, and they might think they have a say in transportation issues. That's my beef. That's all I have.
And we had, and the one I got to go to last, they had a very hot discussion about the weighting of the votes and having 2 people from Charlotte vote instead of, it was a very interesting conversation, but ultimately, ultimately, Charlotte had to vote to change it anyway. So that wasn't going to happen.
But all of the placement of the Waxhaw Parkway is going to be, as far as the Carpo recommendation, is going to be based on the opinion and vote of one person who's not in Waxhaw, adjacent to
Is he even
Waxhaw.
in Union County?
No, he's Charlotte, city of Charlotte.
That's why.
Maybe he could be absent and his backup. Thank you to Kathy and Amy for getting the town hall painted. It looks so nice and clean and fresh. And thank you to Amy. She is not here, and everybody who helped her, but she did pull off a successful National Night Out. It was well attended. I don't think we knew exactly how many people were like coming in and out of the area, but Harris Teeter was a wonderful partner, along with several of the other businesses, and it was a very nice event. So it'll be exciting to see where it happens next time, because now it's been on like 3 corners. Siler's minister did pray, or open in prayer, and he said, well, you haven't done it on our corner yet. So Amy did a nice job. It was a very nice job. And that's all I have. So thank you for being patient with us tonight. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Second.